Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I want to talk about an ETF that has been doing very, very well in 2025. This ETF is GLD, or SPDR's Gold Trust ETF. And as you can imagine, it's an ETF that goes out and purchases gold on your behalf. So let's go ahead and dive into my screen here and kind of look at this fund and look at the performance that's been doing so far year to date. So we can see on Google charts here, it's up 36% year to date. So it's vastly, outperforming the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, so forth there. A lot of countries and, people are allocating money to gold, right? People are not wanting to buy government debt, government treasuries anymore. They're looking for another place to store their value, and gold so far this year has been doing very, very well. As we can see, up 36%. Historically, the past year it's up 44%. Past 5 years, it's up 83%, and then max, dating back to 2004. As long as this ETF has been around, you're looking at a 646% return. So nothing real crazy. You could see since 2011, it kind of definitely dropped in value there, or was pretty flat. But just here as of recently, definitely since 2020, we can see it's really started to ramp up here. So jumping over to one of their websites here. So bringing the gold market to investors as an asset class. Gold is unique. The economic forces that determine the price of gold are different from the economic forces that determine the price of many other asset classes, such as equities, bonds, or real estate. Gold offers investors an attractive opportunity to diversify their portfolios. SPDR's Gold Shares GLD offers investors an innovative, relatively cost-efficient, and secure way to access the gold market. Apologies for stumbling on some of the words here. Originally listed on the New York Stock Exchange in November of 2004, and traded on the New York Stock Exchange ARCA since December 13th, 2007. SPDR's Gold Shares is the largest physically backed gold exchange traded fund in the world. SPDR Gold Shares also trade on the Singapore Stock Exchange, the Tokyo Stock Exchange, the Stock Exchange of Hong Kong, Mexican Stock Exchange, and so forth there. So yeah, offer investors a one thing that they mentioned, a relatively cost-efficient way to secure gold. And that expense ratio is going to come out to roughly 40 basis points. We'll take a look at that here in a minute. GLDM also has a relatively low share price NAV. Okay, yeah, so that's some other alternatives. You can see there's different options here too. So jumping over to one of their funds websites here, we'll look at some of the stats for this fund. So it's currently trading $334.43 per share. So in order to purchase, roughly 100 shares, it's going to cost you over $33,000. Assets under management, 114 million, according to that website there. Seems pretty low. I don't know if that's like 1.1 billion. I'll have to take a look at that on another website. Sometimes that's how they kind of word these assets under management. Gross expense ratio, definitely a lot higher than some of the other ones, but you have to understand what type of ETF this is. It's kind of similar to like a Bitcoin ETF, right? They're actually going to have to go out on your behalf and purchase this gold and definitely store it. So, the purpose or, the objective of this ETF is to reflect the performance of the price of gold, less the trust expenses. So this is the first U.S. traded gold ETF and the first U.S. listed ETF backed by a physical asset. Okay, so coming down here, we talked about the inception date is 2004, November 18, 2004. It is marginable. We'll take a look at the options here in a minute, but I believe it's very liquid ETF as well if you want to trade options on this fund. So that's pretty nice as well. Just another way to kind of create yield from your portfolio. Yep. So just looking at some of the performances, we kind of already looked at that. Year to date, it's doing pretty well, 31%, 35%, and so forth there. Okay, so if we pull up another screen here to kind of look at so we'll pull up the GLD open position on this website here. So the option volume, 1 million, so that's pretty good. 30-day IV, 15 to 19, so that's pretty good as well. Obviously depending on what IV you're targeting, but just kind of keep in mind the S&P 500 is probably like 12. So 11 or 12. So it's a little bit higher than the S&P 500. The NASDAQ is probably right at 15. So it's pretty similar to the NASDAQ as far as volatility goes. Has some decent volume, option volume. So pretty good to know there. If you want to, invest in this ETF, you can also definitely sell covered calls on it as well, or sell cash secured puts if that's something you're looking for. Or you could also, sell some type of spread, synthetic spreads. Those are all available. And definitely when it has decent option volume like this, that's definitely something that I like to look at, right? Whenever you're selling options, you definitely want to make sure you're doing it on an investment that is very liquid, has good volume, and has different opportunities, different expirations. Ideally more than monthly. If you can find an ETF that offers weekly options, I think that's personally ideal, just because it gives you more options, right? No pun intended there. But yeah, guys, that's going to be it. I just wanted to show a quick little video talking about this ETF that's been doing very, very well in 2025. Gold as the asset class itself has been doing very, very well. I'm just kind of curious, are you investing into, first of all, this asset class, and then secondly, this ETF? I'm going to try to definitely allocate a certain percentage of my portfolio to it. Obviously still going to be definitely allocated high to, just stocks and ETFs, mutual funds. Definitely have some Bitcoin in there, but I think, allocating some to gold as well definitely makes sense, whether it's a couple percentage points or so forth there. So that's what I'm going to be trying to do. Let me know your thoughts down below. Is this something that is interesting to you? Would be curious to hear you guys' thoughts. And if you guys are still here, I know this is a long video. Thanks for sticking around. Definitely, please like, subscribe down below. Let me know if there's any types of videos you kind of want me to look at and kind of go a deeper dive into. Would definitely love to hear the feedback from you guys. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Cheers.